Because a couple of years ago, the AAP asked me to give a talk at the NCE, and they're like, yes, Chip, we need you to come up with 25 tips for how to run your practice. Like, okay. So I came up with 25 tips. Then they asked me again the next year. Actually, I'll get the order wrong. And then they asked someone else to do it, and she said, can I have your slide deck? And so she did 25 tips, but she made her own, and she had her own. And then she did it like, then there was like a fourth year, and I was like, I can't keep doing the same tips even though I need to. So I came up with another set of 25 tips. And when I did this at the NCE, I had 60 minutes. And it had been a while since I'd given a presentation in person. All my presentations have been on Zoom for a couple of years, as many of you know. And the pros and cons of me being a good speaker, one thing I always felt like I could do is I always ended on time. I had a pretty good internal clock. So at the last NCE, I went to give my 25 tips class with all new 25 tips. And my hour, the woman in the back gave me the 5-minute sign. I'm like, I've got 10 tips left. I have really mistimed this. And I was up there internally crying because I'd lost my internal clock. And they said from the back, they're like, it's okay, you can go over, there's nothing after this, which usually at the NCE they do not let you do. And I went over, and my class went an hour and 15 minutes. And I felt really bad, and I was feeling really bad for myself for a couple of days. Actually, then I put it behind me, so fast forward, and someone else asked me to do the talk, one of the chapters. And I sat down to format it, and I realized I had done 31 tips. I just wasn't counting. So I'd gone over by the exact amount one would go if you had timed it in your head. And that's what I did. And so not only are you about to get 31 or 32 tips, the first tip that you're about to see is the first set of 25 that I did. So it's really like 56 tips or whatever, 52 tips, sorry. And I have 1 hour to give it, and I've already eaten up 5 of my minutes. So what this means, this is what you're going to get, is you are going to get a new shotgun blast every 60 to 90 seconds if I'm going to finish this on time. All right, give or take. And it means if you are bored of the tip that I'm talking about, wait 60 seconds. You're going to get another one. This also means, like, look, 50 tips. If I bat 10%, you will pay for this conference at this class today. If I bat 5%, you will pay for this conference in this class today. 5%. All right, that's nothing. That's 2.5 tips are irrelevant to you. And if you feel like right now you're a little cocky and you're like, no, I'm gonna know everything in here, raise your hand and I will point at you when it's your time to turn at the tip because I know your practices. I will walk right up to you. I will go off the camera at home and I'll stand right next to you and talk to you about the tip that you need to pay attention to. All right? Here's my zapper. Do I have a lightsaber? Yes, okay. Here we go. Get ready. Now, you don't have to take a picture of any of these because they're in the app, I think, or they will be at the end. All right, they're in the app. So let's read and absorb. Let the wisdom flow over you and maybe like bring something home. So right there, I also wrote a blog about all this that just made it easier for people. Just don't worry, I just copied my own slide deck. That made it easier for you to look up this. I'm right here. In 1.5 minutes, you're going to get 25 tips right now, okay? Tip number 1, fix your immunization billing. Even in this room, there are people who still don't code their admins correctly. I just worked with a non-PCC practice last week. And I was doing a little consulting. I look at her data, and lo and behold, her billing service had not been billing admins for any of their Medicaid patients the entire time they've been on there. I see stuff like that all the time, okay? Fix your pricing. You have CAs. They volunteer for you to work on your pricing. They poke at you. We send you messages. And a lot of you just do, like, I say, okay, whatever. Fix your pricing. I can say, objectively, and I'm like, look who's in the room, so I don't want to get anyone mad yet. But you can look around in the room, and I can say that I've unequivocally delivered millions of dollars of extra revenue over a decade of time because people had broken pricing. $250,000 over 10 years is real money. It's like yacht money. All right, and that's just for typing a couple numbers into the PCC. Your financial statement or benchmarks. Everyone in this room has a dashboard. I was giving this talk at the NCE, so what I have to say is, if you don't understand your financial homework and you don't understand what your benchmarks are, what are you aiming at? How do you measure yourselves? You're doctors, right? You take labs. So why do you not take labs of your own practices? And again, you notice I'm giving you 5 to 10 seconds, well, 15, 20 seconds on each of these. Every one of these is worth a class right now, 45-minute class. So if something sticks, if you're like, I don't quite understand, or maybe I need to do it, come talk to us. You have a building full of PCCers who will walk you through all of this stuff, all right? Next, mission, vision, and values. Oh my gosh, if you do not have fresh, understood, and distributed mission, vision, values in your practice, Brian Birch is going to teach a class about this topic in a day's time or whatever day it is, because this is maybe the most important thing we teach about right now. Invest in your staff. I don't think enough practices actually spend any time, money, or effort to get their staff educated on their jobs. All right, I was just talking to a practice where the money for the practice 401k was not being deposited in with the 401k company. So their payroll was saying, oh, here are your 401k deductions. It wasn't showing up in the payroll, and the reason is because the person they had assigned to do that had never been trained on doing any of it. Now, that's a really stupid example, but I want people to be exceptional, not like weed out the bad ones. But you need to invest in your staff more. Many of you have not mastered the 2021 E&M rules yet. First of all, 99% of the time is spent arguing whether or not systemic fever gives you a 99214. Fine, put that aside. What you also haven't done is gone through and redone your EHR protocols to reflect what you're supposed to record. The big purpose of the E&M change was to allow you to take less time charting. It was called the Paperwork Reduction Act. The feds actually wanted to lower the amount of time you spend doing E&M charting, and it is in fact easier, all right? Supersize your visits. Right now, 11% of the well visits that our clients do have an additional 9921x25. Some of you in this room have never done one. All right? The fact is, in 2025, your families save up their visits, and they show up extra sick with needing extra work. Well, guess what? That should not be your fault or your problem. Do that sick visit at that time, supersize that visit, or on the flip side, oh, they came in for otitis? You're overdue for well? Guess what we're doing today? All right, what else is up here? Recall, recall, recall. If I had to do one hint or one tip to every single practice every year, if I had to teach one class over my entire career, it would be just that single word, patient recall. I'm going to talk a lot more about that here later. I'm just going to say this. With the gutting of ACIP and the potential gutting and likely gutting of Medicaid, you should be recalling every single kid in your practice who can possibly legitimately receive a vaccine today from your laptop while you're at the users conference, while they're still getting paid for. Every single Medicaid kid, get them in now. You might never see them again, all right? So, working for the right people. Guys, I teach a class on this. I've taught it here. If the wrong people work for you, I'm looking at some people in the audience right now are smirking at me. I'm like, there's some people, and actually some of the best part is some of you are sitting next to each other and you need to hold hands. You don't know each other, but you have a story to share. All right, when the wrong people work for you, it destroys everything. All right? When the wrong people work for you, I'm just saying, Pam and Barb, hold hands right now. Okay. You two. Oh, yes. You two have a story to share with these stories to share. Oh, yes. Okay, yes. Anyway, I have an hour and a half to say about that. Check your employed clinician salaries. The single biggest leak I see out of pediatric practices right now is that they're overpaying underperforming pediatricians or nurse practitioners or PAs. Automate your payments. If you are not auto-posting every single insurance check that comes in that is possible, you are losing money and losing time and losing accuracy. Invest in yourself. I love it when I see pediatricians go to events like PMI. There's Paul Vancheri right there sitting in the back. You should be at PMI. You should be at Pediatric CEO. You should do all of those things. Invest in yourself. Examine your schedule. It's probably the single least examined part of the workflow in your practices is how your schedule is done. A lot of you just do it the same way you did it when you showed up in the practice. There's a lot of work to be done in there. Feather your nest is where I like to say, there's one building, or maybe two, but one building you go to every day, and it's making it comfortable has a big impact on the appreciation you have for your own work. It's also something that your patients see and feel, and the experience that they have. If walking into your office doesn't make you feel cool or good, your patients sure don't feel that, all right? Protect your well-being. When I first wrote this was like 2 years into COVID, so everyone was on fire. I mean the same thing then now that I did then, but it's a totally different element. I think I did 10 minutes on it this morning, a little bit. And I'm going fast because, boy, we have a lot more to do. Delegate. Did I spell that right? Yes. Delegate is probably the top three, one of the top 2 or 3 worst skills of all the physicians in this room. You're all really bad at it. And the difference between the smartest and wealthiest people in the world and you, that's one of the differences right there. All right. One thing to remember about delegation is not just about your own freedom. It's about elevating somebody else. And they will surprise you with how much better they are at something than you are. Just because you went to med school doesn't mean you're smart about everything. In fact, it means you're not smart about a bunch of things. And you need to delegate more, all right? You should have in your practice a practice management calendar, which means on every year on the same day is the day or the month or the week where you check on all your answering machine messages, where you walk through the office and look for all the signs that are Xeroxed and a little bit crooked and talk about a flu shot that hasn't even been given in 5 years. Or you go around and you're like, this is when we clean out the fridge. This is when we clean out the samples. This is when we get rid of all of the users in our system who don't belong. I have, and there's a link. All right, hold on. There's a link right here to the details of all these, and I have a link to a free practice management calendar in Google Calendar that you can just go to and say click, and now it's in your Google Calendar. It just reminds you every day. This is a cool thing you can do, all right? Your clinical vitals, same question, same comment up here as your financial benchmark. I mean, how do you know if you're good at your job? Well, everyone in here has a dashboard. So I'm talking to NCE people who are all sad because they can't measure this stuff. You literally have a score. And no one raised your hand, but some people in here are expecting or hoping for a dashboard award tomorrow or whenever we're giving it out. So maybe you're going to get one, maybe you won't. But I want you all to aspire to get that dashboard award. All right, what else do I have? Bright futures. Every one of you should have like a Bright Futures tattoo on your forearm. So when you go into that exam room, you're like, what do I get paid for? Boom, boom, boom. Every dot, it's a treasure map. I made that joke, and Katie Schaefer from Blue made me a bunch of Bright Futures tattoos, and I didn't have enough to distribute, but some year I will. She made me like 4, and I was like, that is so awesome. But you can't read it when it's like small on your arm. But still, the Bright Futures, you need to have it memorized. The feds, at least so far, okay, they're trying to dismantle it, but the feds, every dot on the Bright Futures periodicity schedule is something that is mandated by law to be covered by insurance. So when people here in this room do not do depression screening, do not do MCHATs, do not do the visions and the hearings and all that stuff, it boggles my mind. That's all evidence-based medicine. Disaster prep. Oh, that's a really good one, and I have a lot to say about that. And I just gave a talk for the academy. They've got some big, they've got a, what do you call it, big grant to do a bunch of disaster prep work. The AAP actually has a lot of good stuff on their website about it. But there are people in this room, David Allen, as much as you did during the floods last year, can't you look back and say, I wish I had done a generator? There it is. I mean, that's actually a good, obvious answer. Like, everyone, do you own one now?
We've got it in the process.
Yeah, you had to drive back up to Vermont to buy a generator to bring back down. So disaster prep is gigantic, and it's not just is your building underwater? Did your office manager run away with all your money? Did one of your partners pass away? Did you have a fire in your office? Did someone leave the fridge open? All of those. Everyone in this room is like, why is he talking about me? He's not supposed to talk about me. But and for those of you who you think I skipped over, I know. I'm coming to you. I just saved it, all right? I don't even know what I meant by, spread information. I'm not going to get through this whole talk. Spread information. One of your jobs is to preach. And one of your key jobs is to educate all of the families on science and evidence-based behavior. The difference between humans and animals is scientific method, all right? And you have to share with everyone, with the media, with social media, with your friends, with your family. You should never shut up about the good science that you perform. Leveraging tech. I wonder what I meant by that. Oh, I know what I meant by that. Here's a really obvious one. I'm probably going to say it again in my when I start going slide by slide. And I was saying this to the broad NCE crowd and not everyone in here, but everyone in here has a free portal, and free patient check-in, and free patient online scheduling. And not everyone in here uses those things. And for those of you, I know the people who come to the UC, if you've got like 6 partners, you're the one who wants to do online scheduling, and your partners at home are the ones who don't. All right? But if, in fact, one of you in here, if you are the person in here who's hoping I don't look you in the eye to talk to you about how bad your portal usage is, fix that, and it pays for this entire conference. And take it from the people in the room who use the portal. You're like, oh, yeah, you'd be a fool to not have 99% portal coverage. All right? So leverage your tech. A giant one, and this is a really great opportunity to do it right now, find a friend and go visit them. If you have kids who are applying to college in the next few years, find a friend. I mean, pediatricians are easy to make friends with. And find a friend who lives in the town that you want to visit for college. You want to do college tours. And if you don't know someone in that town, call me. I'll give you a name. And when you go out there and you do the tour, you just go swing into someone else's office for a minute. You made a new friend. You're going to learn something. I guarantee it. And now that's a business expense, all right? Maybe not your kid's flight, but yours, all right? I mean, I'm not kidding. And if your kid works for you, I didn't even add that one in there. All right. Actually, that is in my 2025 set coming up. That Suzanne Madden asked me to add that. But visiting a practice, okay, don't go to another town. Find someone you can drive to. Visit their practice. Have them visit your practice. I guarantee you will see them doing something that will make you feel very proud of your practice. You're like, oh, we do not do that. And then you will see them not do something that will make you ashamed of your practice. And you will say to yourself, you go home, you're like, okay, this thing that I said we could never do, they do it every day. How did they get there? So you want to do that. All right? Own your brand. You need to log into Google and Apple Maps right now and make sure if it says, do you own this business? Yes, click yes before some robot out of Russia does it and screws you up because it's a huge pain in the neck to fix that. Own your brand. Make sure your times are right. Make sure your location is right. Make sure that everywhere you live, your logo is on it and people know who you are and that you look good. I have a lot more to say about that. And last but not least, join SOAPM. Now, I've got like 1 minute per. All right, so we're going to start flying. You ready? I am going to say right up here, start playing with, I got to change the start playing with AI. I want you to be careful, though, because a number of the AI companies, there's the old saying in the web space, if you are using a service for free, you are the product. All right? And those words have never been more true than they are with this. Those AI companies who are charging you $100 a month. Okay, all the pediatricians say, oh, it's so expensive, $100 a month. Who are you fooling? $100 a month. All right, it's nothing for the magic of this. Where do you think they're expecting to make their money? They're doing it in two ways. They want to be the first in line. If they sign up all the doctors, even if they've lost $1 billion doing so, like ChatGPT is doing right now, billions of dollars a year, they're just losing because if they win the AI fight, they get to sell their business for 100 times what they put into it. So it's a race to get you to sign up, and then they want to use your data. All those words you say in there, all that PHI you say in there, they want to use it in 1,000 ways. Some people, I got it. It's like I just had a little seizure, sorry. I got to get back up. So play with it, though. Start using it. And by the way, every single slide in this deck I made with AI because it's crazy, as you will see, all right? I said draw a picture of a dude using AI. Writing a letter, because we're talking a little bit about the ambient space with AI. Has anyone here used AI to write a letter to complain to insurance yet? All right. How awesome is that? I mean, I take pride in my letter writing skills, but boy, am I happy to hand it to someone else because they're fast and furious, and every now and then it says something. I was like, oh, I wouldn't have had a thought to say it that way. That's good. I do use it a lot now for chores like that, especially because as doctors who weren't English majors as a rule, writing a letter is daunting to you. You turn a 10-minute chore into a 2-hour chore. ChatGPT turns it into a 3-second chore, and it's fun. Anyway, all right, here's more important. Develop an AI policy today. I have a client who had an employed clinician who was using AI to do his charts for 6 months, and he hadn't told his boss. So he was just using AI to do his charts at night. All right, is that cool? Maybe. But if you employed that guy, wouldn't you have wanted to know? All right, like which AI he chose, which AI he was sharing your patient data with, which notes were actually composed with AI. So you need an AI policy. You need a policy that includes what other tasks and chores in your practice are valid AI opportunities, not all of them. And best way to get an AI policy is use AI. It'll give you a good one, right? AI is weirdly its own worst enemy. All right, here's another big one right now, or send a message back home. Or when you get home, go test your fridge, go check the access holes, and I'll describe to you what I mean by that for a second, and add water to your fridge. What do I mean by that? So first of all, I keep going into practices, and I keep seeing thermometer lines that are running into the door. Like they shut the door on the line. Those are scientific fridges, or it better be. They have a hole that is designed for you to take put your temperature gauge in, all right? And you reseal it. If you run that little line through your door, that seal is going to fail over time. I bat 30%. 30% of the time I go to practice, they just stuck the temperature gauge on the outside and ran that little dude right through the front door. I'm like, what do you think that hole in the side was for? All right? But further, if you have a fridge or a freezer that is routinely not full, because depending on your volume or whatever, fill it with jugs of water. This is especially true on your freezer side because a freezer full of ice with your vaccines will maintain its freezing temperature for days. It also makes your fridge run more efficiently. All right, what else? If you have not read your value-based care agreements and payments, tomorrow's the day. I have a number of practices who have lost 6 figures a year because they get dinged by something they said, you didn't fill out this form in time, or we didn't explain to you that your adult patients would appear on your patient list unless you did this other thing here. So now you fail and here's minus $150,000. That kind of thing happens all the time. I know a lot of practices who just treat the VBC stuff like a Christmas bonus. And no. They took the money out of the fee-for-service section and slid it over. Maybe they dangled a little more at the beginning because you were excited, but these guys are in business. So they don't give anything away for free. You need to understand all of the levers and machinations that are inside your value-based contracts. If you don't know what your contracts say, start now. Do you take Medicaid? More than half of you do at PCC. Right? The average PCC client is about 30-35%. Make sure, this is a funny tip for 2024, make sure that you are caught up on your state sales and use tax. Why? Because it turns out, we had this happen to a client, that's why it's in here. It turns out that if the state believes you have not been paying your sales and use tax on, for example, some states collect sales and use tax on vaccines, they can suspend all your Medicaid payments until they think you're caught up. So you owe the state $500, they will gladly suspend a $30,000 a week check to you. Okay, so check that. All right, what's next? Test your backups and generator. The first thing David Allen's going to do, he's going to plug his generator in and run it, and he's going to say, what a great sound. But then he's going to go out and do that every month, all right? And in fact, the new good generators actually test themselves, and they text you, and they send you a message. All the people who live in, like, Hurricaneville, they are all nodding at me right now. For some of you are like, what? This is new? But the number of times I've had clients tell me, I bought a new generator last year and we lost power and our generator never started. I mean, that happens, so many of my clients have told me that. It happens all the time. You need to test that stuff. All right, here's my biggest suggestion for everyone in this room. 2025 is the year you actually fire someone, all right? Now, all right, raise your hand if you have fired someone in the last 12 months. Okay, see, you're listening to me because you guys know I talk about this. Don't raise it with such glee. A couple of you are like, oh yes, I'm raising both hands. Both hands and a leg, all right? Because you've gotten good at this. And if I had said that 3 years ago, it would have been a third of those hands. But does anyone in here right now, and sometimes this is awkward because sometimes they're sitting next to you at a conference, but is anyone in here right now, do you have someone who you wish didn't work for you? This is your job. And so, see that thing right there? That is a book. That's literally the title of a book, a real book. It's the book I've distributed more than any other book. I have Dr. Ziogas is in here, so she has like the world's best story about this. This story is so good, I'm going to take an extra minute. She went to one of my classes at PMI, and I talked about the no asshole rule. It's this book. It's an extension of a Harvard Business article that basically where they studied what happens when you remove a toxic employee from an environment. That toxic employee is there because she's the only one who knows how to do this, or she's so important in my practice. And they then did an analysis. What happens when you remove that? What happens to the productivity of the other employees? And time after time after time, you remove the toxic person, and everybody else's productivity increases to the point that it's better than the incredibly important but asshole person you had working for you. Over and over and over again, they show this. And there's a variety of reasons, and I like this book because you can read it in about an hour, and it's inspirational, and it inspires people to fire someone. So, Doc, correct me if I'm wrong with this story. She told me, she's like, Chip, I have to tell you what happened. I went to your class last year. I bought the book, and I brought it back to my office, and I put the book right on my desk to bring home, and that night, and I went to go get it when I went home, and it was gone. Stolen by that person right there, all right? Stolen by that person. So she said, she's like, I went right on Amazon and ordered 5 more copies to be the next day. And how good did you feel when you fired her? Great. No one ever says, I wish I hadn't fired her. They always say, I don't know why I took so long. So that's my big advice there. All right. You need to invest in leadership training for yourself, but more importantly, for the people who aren't you. Leadership training is succession planning. If you do not have a acute and perhaps even in writing understanding of what is going to happen with your practice, with whom and by whom and to whom over the next 5 or 10 years, you need to start here. This is where it all begins, okay? You also need to do security training. There's all kinds of security training opportunities. And this is training, this is IT. Wait, hold on, I want to check something. Yeah, okay. This is IT training. This is security in your space training. I hate to say, but having a shooting training in your office, just telling people, go out that way. Don't go out that way. Go out that way. Just that is enough to maybe save a life, but more importantly, also tone everything down. All right? But security training, I'm going to give you a link at the end. You literally, everyone in this room has had, I don't know, in this week alone, 50 spam messages trying to get into your bank account or get you to pay an invoice that doesn't exist or whatever. You need to train your staff what these things look like. The way that PCC's system is set up with you, it is very difficult for someone to get into our server, all right? But every time someone in your office answers the wrong email and fills out the wrong information, it makes it a lot easier. All right, so you need to give them that kind of training. And another kind of training I recommend massively is de-escalation training. It is a skill, it can be taught. Everyone here has had an angry parent at the front desk. And it just ruins everybody's day, including the day of the other patients in the exam room or in your waiting room. So why not get a little training about how to manage this? All right. How many people in here use a vaccine barcode scanner? I like that number. If I'd asked that 3 years ago, it would have been 3 hands. But everyone in here whose hand didn't go up, you just saw a bunch of people raise their hand. What do they know that you don't? You know what they know that you don't? Their vaccine process is faster and more accurate, and they can do vaccine inventory in a way that you can't. And you know what question I get about when I say, oh, you should add a vaccine scanner? The first question I get every time, well, how much do they cost? I'm like, I'm like, you should buy 6. What are you talking about? Oh, can our nurses share one? Why? They're like $15. It's like buying a keyboard. All right? The first thing you worry about is how much it costs and not how much. If it tracks 1 vaccine a year, all right, it pays for itself. This is a fun one. Anyone here use a virtual assistant right now? This is coming. All right? Oh, I know Jackie does. All right. So, virtual assistants for this crowd it's a little tricky because we have a lot of trust issues in here, all right? We don't trust people to read our email for us and make our appointments for us and pay our bills for us. But those are the most commonly discussed utilities or utilization of a virtual assistant. We have more and more practices, not only our customers, but people on SOAPM talk about, who are using virtual employees, or virtual employees just really means remote employees, all right, to do work that you can't find someone local to do. You struggle finding someone to schedule for you. There are services who will do your scheduling for you, right? Who will answer your phones for you, who do all this work remotely. And I'm not suggesting it's perfect, but the people who figure out the vibe of it and how it works, they love it and they don't go back. This is just something to look into, all right? Or if nothing else. All right. Does everyone in this building or in this room know where their partnership agreement is, let alone know what's in it? All right. If you do not, all right, I assure you, this is maybe this is a top 3 most common reason for Chip to get a phone call. All right, is for the stuff that is not in a partnership agreement, or a partnership agreement that doesn't exist, or a partnership agreement that's a handshake, or a partnership agreement that does not have. It's so poorly written that it doesn't serve as an agreement. It's a partnership confusion. That's what they should call it. And Paul actually has. You can Google Paul Vanchieri partnership agreement. I can't remember what else, because IPMSO published an article where Paul gave 13 things that should be in every partnership agreement, and I've never read a partnership agreement that has all 13. They're really good line items, and you can take. And right now, if you're like, I don't need to do this, we're getting along, that is when you redo your partnership agreement. When everyone's friendly. All right? Same is true with your employed clinician agreements. Is it really clear how you pay them? Is it really clear what your expectations are of their work? Is it really clear what happens if they want to leave? Is it really clear how it is they're supposed to perform their clinical services? If you, again, have an employed clinician agreement that is like your partnership agreement, now is the time to clean it up and work on it. Just as much as I want you to fire someone this year, I want you to, once in your career, trust your intuition and take advantage of an opportunity that is presented to you. I gave a whole class, I give it at PMI, I gave it at Pediatric CEO, where I gave a list of opportunities where business opportunities that were presented to pediatricians, and as a group, none of you took advantage of them right away. Individual practices did right away, but you all waited for someone else to jump first. Let me give you an example. How many people in this room gave Beyfortus the day it was available? The rest of you lost an opportunity because everyone who raised their hand got paid. And eventually, most practices gave Beyfortus. Not all practices, unfortunately, but most practices gave Beyfortus. What was the biggest boogeyman in your practice clinically before that vaccine? It's RSV. You all hated it. What happened when Beyfortus rolled out? It's disappeared in some places, and not 100%, but oh my gosh, you don't even, you can measure it in your head, all right? A lot of pediatricians operate with the culture of a pediatrician when approaching their business. What I mean by that is pediatricians, you all raised your hand and said, first, do no harm. First, we're going to prevent disease. We're going to prevent harm. You are paid and you are wired and you were born to be incredibly conservative decision makers. You don't say, you know what, I know it'll probably resolve itself, but I have an experimental cure that we're going to try with you today. No pediatrician has ever said that. No one here feels comfortable taking a chance with a kid. Unfortunately, that is a bad philosophy when running a business. When you own the business, you need to take advantage of opportunities. And so what I'm talking about here is trust your intuition once, and take a chance. You guys know me, I'm not a big intuition guy. I'm like, do the math guy. But trust your intuition once, take a chance. Take a chance on something that you would normally not take a chance on. This is, by the way, maybe my favorite AI image in here, because if you look carefully, people's bodies are aiming the wrong way and their kids missing heads and stuff like that. Don't look too closely. It gets weirder as it goes, all right? So one of the things I really want you to pay attention to this year is find your peers and build social capital. Now, here I am at a PCC conference, which is maybe, with the exception of PMI, the best opportunity to do this in the country. Okay, especially as everyone here uses the same system, and a lot of you have seen each other year after year, and you have friends in here. But you need to double down on this. First of all, telling pediatricians to make friends is silly because you're all empaths and you all are friendly. All right, it's really easy. You do it all the time. But what we need to start doing is doing a better job of building social capital, because when someone like me comes along and says, "Hey, remember that guy?" That PCC client I told you about, he's like a town over, and he's starting to talk about maybe forming a super group. You're like, yeah, just let me know how that goes. Or maybe. And I'm like, well, I think you two should go get coffee. No one ever goes and gets coffee. You all chicken out, repeatedly. Find your best friends, the people who absolutely understand what you deal with. You're surrounded by them right now. You know what it's like when you tell someone who isn't in medicine, you have your friends who you play pickleball with, and they're like, what do you do? I'm a pediatrician. Like, oh, you play with kids? That's great. And you're like, well, yes, but I do all this other stuff. And then you bump into another pediatrician, and you understand each other like you've been, you're my long-lost twin. Well, you have quinzillips or whatever whatever the 500 would be, all right? You all understand each other right away, but you also retreat so fast. We need to start building social capital among you so we can start doing things together, all right? The G2211. Wait, let me see. Craig, how much money did your practice bring in? She's big practice. Billing the G2211. I know you know to the dollar, but how big a boat could you buy with the G2211 money that your practice brought in? BCD as a whole. A big old boat. All right, a big old boat. All right. How many other people in here made good money on the G2211? Okay. Here's the thing. The G221 came out. The feds looked at everyone. They looked around and they're like, you know what? You're right. We keep sliding all this money into the specialties and we're ignoring the primary care physicians. And furthermore, the way that the CPT codes are incentivized, all these minute clinics and stupid urgent cares and the ER, they make money. They make the same amount of money, or often they negotiate better rates, but their RVUs for these visits are the same as, say, a pediatrician. But a pediatrician does extra work during those visits. Because no matter how simple the visit is, if you're the PCP, that kid comes in and you're like, oh yeah, this is the divorced couple. I got to send a note to both of them. All right, last time I did this, the dad got pissed at me because I told him to stop smoking because he has asthma. I got to send a thing to the mom. Oh, wait a minute, their sister's coming in next week. I can follow up on this a little bit. All of the things that you know about the kid before they came in and the things you think about after, the Fed said that's worth $15. And because so many of you are afraid to take advantage of an opportunity, you went, oh, I don't want to bill it. We might get audited. I want to, this is me figuratively giving the finger to everyone who said that, because that's not true, all right? That was not true. That was a total rumor. Someone started it on SOPM and we tracked it down. I was like, oh, really? So you said you were going to get audited. What was the audit? Oh, it was just a misunderstanding. No, we did not get audited for billing the G2211. Now, what has happened, just as an aside, is that many of the payers have stopped paying it or lowered their payments. The biggest problem that happened is when you build a G2211, suddenly they were denying the entire claim. I want you to think about this. All the people who do the billing are like, yes, Chip, that's easy for you to say, but they're denying the entire claim. Here's what I say to you. When you accidentally throw some random CPT code on a claim, when a claim goes out, because it happens every now and then. Judy, you guys do 50,000 claims a year. A half dozen of them went out with a CPT code you've never seen, all right? Do they deny the entire claim? No, they just don't pay it. People in here, I can probably find someone. Every now and then, you have someone in your practice who makes a typo, and instead of changing the 4 to a 5 for the 90461s, they turn the 4 to a 40. We do see this. Every now and then, a claim goes out with like 40 or 70 90461s. Does the payer reject the entire claim? No, they just pay 4 of them. Lo and behold, you all show up and put this G2211 on there and like, oh no, we have to cancel the entire claim now. Doesn't that tell you that we're hitting them in a soft spot? Their overreaction to the use of this code should tell you we all need to use it. And we all need to demand that they pay it. It is a valid CPT code with RVUs, and it is designed by the feds specifically to recognize the extra work that you're doing, and the only specialty that does not get this automatically is you guys, because everyone who takes Medicare gets it. And it's really weird when the payers show up at these federal hearings and say, yeah, we follow Medicare rules. And you say, bullshit, you don't, because you don't pay me the G2211. And you're all like, yeah, it's just Blue Cross and United, their job is not to show up and do what's right. They're not ever going to just give you money. You have to fight for every penny. And the fact that you guys, too many of you, roll over on this, you're always going to be the underdogs. So build that code. All right. By the way, this is me. When I started doing this, I was like, all right, draw a picture of a practice doing an analysis of one of their employees using the style of Gustav Klimt. That's what I did. all right? I am a fan of the things like the Myers-Briggs tests and the Clifton Strengths Finder. You guys know what I'm talking about? All that stuff. Not because I actually believe any of the results, because they're horoscopes, all right? And I've done a bunch of them, and sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, actually they kind of pegged me on that one, but I'm not this guy over here. The entire point of it is this, and the value of these services is this. They give you the language to have a discussion about human behavior that allows you to have that discussion in a way that people are comfortable. Oh, you're an IMTJ. I'm an EMFR, whatever. And it says, and here's why, and this is why. And people can then discuss why they feel differently or behave differently in a circumstance. And that alone is worthwhile. I got to speed up. Check the use of your after-hours codes. I'm just going to say this once so I can move quickly. Every single visit after 6 p.m., every single visit on weekends, and every single visit on a holiday should have a 99051. Period. The only time that's not true is if you have a payer who says, I want you to bill the 99050, get it in writing, and then bill that 99050. If you're not, you're losing money. This is the Christoph Diazio slide. He has a whole talk about overpaying for your retirement funds. The bottom line is this, if you have a 401k plan and it's got you're paying all kinds of management fees, often hidden, for doing special, they have all these things designed. Oh, you're retiring in 2065? Here, we'll manage the fund for you. And so year after year after year after year, the lowest cost index funds outperform the rest of the market every time. And one of the biggest scams ever, besides chemtrails, I'm just kidding about that. One of the biggest scams ever pulled on Americans was the idea that you needed a financial advisor to manage your money, because they make a ton of money and they often are worse than picking stuff at random. So there are a lot of lessons on this, and Christoph, if you see him, he gave a whole lecture at this at the NCE. Immunization pricing. The biggest place where, remember on that previous slide, where that 5x5 grid, I said fix your pricing? The single biggest leak I see in practices is with their immunization pricing, because what will happen is the cost of your immunizations will go up and the payers will follow suit incrementally over time, and you don't keep raising your prices. I will just tell you very simply right now, if you are not writing off at least 20% on every single vaccine, every single time, you are losing money, period. Our CAs will hand you a report saying, here are the payers where you're getting 85 or 95%, or sadly, too many of you are getting paid 100% of your vaccine fee. I used to stand up here and say, hey, if you get paid 100%, just keep raising your price until they write off $1 or $2. No, write off at least 20%. Frankly, I'd like it to be 70%, or write off 30% or 40%. And the reason is because you have agreements that say we're going to pay you our fee schedule or 70% of your what you charge, whichever is less. And if you're like, that's not true, does everyone remember what happened when Beyfortus came out and no one had that code loaded in their systems? And so you all learned that most of your payers have this thing that says, if we don't know what the code is, but we're going to pay it, we will pay you 50% of your charges. How many people in here who gave Beyfortus charged $1,200 for it so they could get the $500 that you paid? Okay? Proof that that's what I'm talking about. So raise your prices till you're writing off at least 20% from every payer on every vaccine. All right, prioritize your CEO and strategic work, your strategy work. One of the things that you do is you see patients all day, and then you say, all right, I'll work on my practice tonight after dinner, and tonight after dinner comes, and whatever. They released the new episode of The Pit, so you watch that instead. And next thing you know, when you own the business, you need to schedule time in your business workday to do this work. You will, if you always make it a secondary thing, it's never a priority, you'll always be in a bad loop. I am literally saying, take some of your patient time to do your CEO work, because then you'll say, oh shoot, I better do it in 2 hours. And what would normally take you 5 nights and you would do poorly, you can do in 2 hours on a Friday morning because you prioritize that work and you did it during a time when you can concentrate, a time when you can close your door and tell people not to interrupt you, and you're realizing I'm making an investment in my practice. I am not seeing patients. I am doing my CEO work. All right, create your dashboard. Now, I had to do this at the NCE. I really wanted to say to everyone, oh, but if you had a PCC, you wouldn't need to. All right, but even with the PCC dashboard, you should be looking at your own performance metrics and the things that you find to be important in your practice. And you need to constantly and consistently measure yourselves. Well, it's a lot to say about this, but I got like 15 more slides and 10 more minutes. All right, collect feedback. This was like, obviously, Van Gogh. I said do a Van Gogh, all right? I am a huge fan of asking your patients at the front desk to leave a review. And you can literally look them in the eye and say, hey, I felt like we had a great visit today. I'd love it if you just did a review on Google. And your parents will be like, oh, I mean, like, seriously, they will overwhelmingly say, oh, that's awesome. I'd love to do that. And you get the best, most sincere reviews. You know, when you read Google reviews, half the time you're like, that's not a person. Like, that's not a complete sentence. Or like, I wouldn't trust this person anyway because this person writes like a moron. Then you get the mom who like, oh my God, I love Dr. So-and-so. She's so wonderful. Everything's she did this and this and this. And you like, that was written by a person. You can go from a 3.2 with 5 reviews to a 4.8 with 50 reviews in a week if you just ask them. But also, your practice is saying, boy, we really want to expand hours. We want to stay, we have the resources right now to do, we can be open 2 days a week after hours. I just don't know what days. Should be Mondays and Fridays, should be Friday and Wednesday, I don't know. Ask every single patient who comes in for 3 days, and you'll have 200 survey answers in 10 minutes, at the end of that 2 days, and then you have your answer. Survey Monkey. Ask your families. They want to give you feedback. All right. I already said this earlier, so boy, I guess my slides duplicated. Well, whatever. Go to Google, go to Apple Maps, log into both, look for yourself, and make sure that every one of your locations, every one of your times, every one of your links, it all goes to the right place. All right? I talked about this before, but I'll say it again. Leverage your portal. I am still sort of confused by our own practices who don't like the portal. I mean, who here uses the portal a lot? Who here lives with the lives through the portal? All right. Oh my God, we're gonna get a zillion questions. Yeah, it beats a zillion phone calls, like by a lot. All right. And yes, you've all received more genitalia photos since opening the portal than you ever received in your life before that. All right. But now you get paid for it. Now you can get paid for it. That's right. All right. But yes, leverage your portal. All right. All of you, look at this crazy ChatGPT picture. I don't even know what it means. Every one of you has some sort of box or library of patient communication, whether it's patient handouts, something on your website, something that you've referenced. You have this, this thing that you wrote or you stole from something online years ago. Go take a look at it. Read it in its entirety. Does it ring true today? Is it still valid clinically? Does it reflect? Does it have your old address on it? I mean, the number of stupid mistakes I've seen in these handouts over the years is monstrous. Every one of them is an opportunity for you to market your practice. So take advantage of that. And go through all your patient handouts. Make them look cool. This is a big one. And I really mean this now in 2025. I wrote this in 2024 when we believed in vaccines. Now that we don't, all right? You should take an opportunity when those families come in to vaccinate everyone up through the family dog, all right? Every mom, every dad, flu shot, COVID shot, you name it, all right? I wonder, I have 2 practices. Neither of them are in the room. 2 practices I know who are giving Beyfortus shots to the moms. All right? Oh, no, sorry. I looked right through you. all right? Yes, I know. I meant to say RSV shots. Okay. I just am wired to say Beyfortus. Yeah, that's weird. Well, no, they're 13. It's perfect, all right? They put both ones. No, so to give the RSV vaccines to the moms is not only, I mean, it's good money, it's cool, but oh my gosh, you have bonded with someone from day one because you know this family will vaccinate, all right? So I'm just using that as an example, but flu shots, COVID shots, save your community. Who here gave COVID shots to parents in their practices? All right, I want you to just count 30 people, hands up. 30 people, I'm just gonna take a guess. You all did 300 parents. I'm making up a number. 30 people, 300, that's 10,000 COVID shots given out. Could be 10 times that, I don't know. 10,000 COVID shots. We know the math. You saved dozens of lives. And not just the lives of the people you vaccinated, but all the people who live with them. The repercussions of those 10,000 shots is many lives actually saved. And you get paid to do it. It's a cool job. All right. I want you to, this year, before the end of the year, pick a victory. Pick one thing that your practice did. You had one clinical measure that was important, one financial measure that was important, something that you did together. Someone had a success. Someone went on maternity leave and actually came back. I don't care what it is, all right? Celebrate. Have a party. You guys work in a job where you get to play with kids. You should have fun with each other. You're wired to do it. You are like good, happy, fun party people. All right? Do this for yourselves. Celebrate your victories. This one, I was like, draw a picture of an older guy handing the keys to the business to a younger physician who I'm realizing now has some sort of like weird Jesus cult logo on her outfit that I didn't notice until this moment. I mean, it's like a cross with a hook in it. I never noticed that, sorry, until this moment. And then I said, do it in the style of a 50s comic book. Why not? I was just picking styles. And I wanted to do all these other ones, but I want to do Warhol and stuff like that. But ChatGPT won't let you do newer stuff for copyright reasons. Otherwise, I'd have a million cool ones. All right? But so that was this one. If you don't have a succession plan, and you are like the next one out the door, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be painful and sad. And both you on the pass torching side and them on the torch receiving side, everyone in that chain is going to be unhappy. All right? I promise you. I mean, we all know stories. They are all completely true. You want to maintain your independence? You want to keep taking care of the kids in your community? You want to have any kind of legacy? I mean, you might be the receiving person, succession plan receiving person. You want to make sure that this gets done right? You need a plan. Talk it out. Talk it out before you have to talk it out. All right? Now, and look at me. I ended with a minute left. Thank you. That's why I did this at the NCE and I blew it. I had all those extra slides. I have in this handout, you don't have to take a picture of this. Whoops, sorry. In the handout, all those blue lines, those are links directly to citations and resources for all this stuff. So like I said, security training earlier, like look, here's the FTC cybersecurity for small business. Here's knowbefore.com, that's who PCC uses. Here's CISA, they do all of these training exercises. I'm just giving you some examples. The 401k thing I was talking about, Christoph, actually he gave that talk last year here. So there's the slide deck, there are the videos, all right? I have links to essentially everything I talked about in here. So now, please, I think it's the last slide, fill out the course survey in the app. If you put more than one X in sexy, it sends me the wrong message. So just believe it, it's good looking, handsome, all right? But if you have any questions, I have 1 minute for questions, but you are also welcome to ask them in the chat. It's not like anyone here appears to be afraid to ask me questions while I'm sitting around. That's my job. Karen, do you have a question?
I do.
Hit me.
So we are typically the
queen.
queen.
Hold on. She's handing you a mic.
I usually don't need one, but
yeah.
we. Okay, so we are the queens of supersizing in my practice. I really emphasize that. But 2 of our Medicaid plans have now refused to do a well and sick visit at the same time. What do you do about that?
First of all, the answer to these questions like this are always simple but not easy. And you know what I'm going to say. The first thing you're going to do is you are going to kick and scream every single time, and you're going to be the biggest pain in the ass they've ever heard because you have all the evidence and all the reasoning and all the good medicine to say that's just unethical. That's cruel. It doesn't follow AMA CPT law, and you're only getting away with it because you're a state. And this is embarrassing that this is what you're doing. That's the first thing I'd say. And that's simple. It's just not easy. And you're going to you're going to build that social capital. You're going to get all of your friends to send the same letter every time you can. And it just means you have to be the squeakiest wheel. I can't avoid that part of the answer. The second part of that answer is, unfortunately, all right, like let's just say God sends another tablet and he says, thou shalt not supersize. So we can't do it anymore. All right, that's just the new law. Well, then I'm going to have to say, you have to, with your best judgment, determine clinically what is the most important thing to accomplish at that time. For example, you have an otitis, and this kid's 3 years overdue on his well. You do the otitis for free. You do the well that day. You do the full well that day, and you do the otitis, and that was just a freebie for them. You get more money. They get better care. It's like not optimal, but it's better than, oh, I'm going to send you home, and you're going to reschedule that otitis. They're not coming back. All right? So I hate that answer. I do actually have total faith in the judgment of everyone here to know which thing you should do today, but that's the best I can tell you. Obviously, if you think for some reason you can get that parent back, great, take a stab at it. But right now in 2025, when everyone's Medicaid coverage is going to get cut, get that well visit in. You let the hospital deal with the otitis if the kid really has it. It's a bitter answer, but it's true.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
I've got a question back here, and I'm going to let Paul ask a question. Give me a break. No, we'll see. When did you stop wetting the bed as a child? That's what he's going to say. I will answer questions until I get kicked out.
We're over.
We are cut off. Dr. Verratti, I am sorry, but you know where I am. All right. Thank you, everyone. I told you it was going to be dense.